Ryan Carter walked through the busy marketplace with his jacket collar turned up against the evening wind. The alien district of New Haven Colony was always crowded at this hour. Merchants from a dozen different species shouted their prices, while customers haggled in a mix of languages. The air smelled like exotic spices and ozone from the energy shields that separated the stalls. He had finished his security shift 2 hours ago and just wanted to grab some food before heading back to his apartment. Ryan worked as a contractor for the Colonial Administration, checking cargo shipments and making sure the peace stayed peaceful. It was boring work most days, which was exactly how he liked it. He had seen enough excitement during his military years. The Vorathi section of the market caught his eye. Their stalls were neat and organized, displaying weapons and armor that gleamed under the lights. The Vorathi themselves were impressive. They stood nearly 7 feet tall with scaled skin that ranged from deep green to bronze. Their eyes were large and golden, set in reptilian faces that showed little emotion. They moved with the grace of natural predators. Ryan had always respected them. They kept to themselves mostly, but they were fair traders. Unlike some species, they never tried to cheat humans just because humans were newcomers to the galactic community. He was looking at a display of energy blades when the screaming started. The sound cut through the marketplace noise like a knife. Ryan's old training kicked in immediately. He turned toward the source of the panic and saw people running in all directions. Then he saw why. Krell warriors were moving through the crowd. There were at least 6 of them, maybe more. The Krell were insectoid raiders, known throughout the sector as pirates and killers. Their chitinous armor was black and spiked, and they carried curved energy blades that hummed with deadly power. Ryan's hand went to his hip where he kept a small plasma pistol. It was not much, but it was something. He started moving toward the edge of the market, following the flow of panicking civilians. Getting out was the smart move. The colonial security forces would handle this. Then he saw the child. A small Vorathi stood frozen in the middle of the clearing crowd. The child could not have been more than 5 or 6 years old in human terms. She wore an elaborate ceremonial robe, marked with silver symbols. Her golden eyes were wide with terror as she looked around for her family. 3 Krell warriors were closing in on her. They moved with purpose, ignoring the other fleeing civilians. This was not random violence. They were hunting this specific child. Ryan's feet stopped moving. His brain screamed at him to keep going, to get to safety. The Krell were deadly fighters, trained from birth to kill. He had a tiny pistol and a combat knife. This was not his fight. That child was not his responsibility, but his body would not listen to his brain. He found himself running toward the child instead of away from her. He reached the girl just as the first Krell raised its blade. Ryan grabbed the child and spun, putting his back between her and the attackers. The little Vorathi made a frightened sound and clutched at his jacket. Ryan pulled his pistol and fired at the closest Krell. The plasma bolt hit the creature in the chest, burning through its armor. It fell with a shriek. The other 2 Krell hissed in anger and separated, trying to flank him. He fired twice more, but the Krell were fast. They dodged and came at him from both sides. His pistol's energy cell died after the 3rd shot. Ryan threw it at one Krell's face and pulled his knife. The blade felt small and useless in his hand. The Krell circled him like sharks. The child behind him was crying now, a strange chirping sound. Ryan could feel her small hands gripping his jacket. The first Krell lunged. Ryan tried to dodge, but with the child behind him, he could not move far. The energy blade sliced across his left shoulder. Pain exploded through his arm. He bit back a scream and slashed with his knife, cutting the Krell's weapon arm. The second Krell attacked from behind. Ryan felt the blade cut into his back, a line of fire across his shoulder blades. He stumbled but stayed on his feet. The child. He had to protect the child. Another strike hit his right arm, then his left side. Ryan lost count of how many times the blades cut him. Each wound felt like being touched with a white-hot iron. His vision started to go dark at the edges. His legs felt weak, but he stayed standing. He kept his body between the Krell and the child. When he could not stand any more, he fell to his knees. Still, he covered the small Vorathi with his body, taking the blade strikes on his back and arms. He heard shouting, energy weapons fired. The colonial security had finally arrived. The Krell warriors retreated, melting back into the shadows of the market stalls. Ryan collapsed onto his side, careful not to crush the child. He could feel blood soaking his clothes. His whole body felt cold and distant. He tried to count how many times he had been cut, but his mind was foggy. 8? Maybe 9? The little Vorathi girl crawled in front of him. Her golden eyes stared into his. She was saying something in her language, but Ryan could not understand the words. Her small hand touched his face. He wanted to tell her it was okay, that she was safe now. But his mouth would not work. The darkness at the edges of his vision was spreading fast. He heard more voices, felt hands lifting him. Someone was applying medical gel to his wounds. The last thing Ryan saw before everything went black was those golden eyes filled with tears and the silver ceremonial markings on the child's robe that indicated she was someone very important. Then the darkness took him, and he knew nothing at all. Ryan woke to the sound of breathing that was not his own. Multiple people were breathing in perfect rhythm, slow and controlled. He tried to move and immediately regretted it. Pain shot through his body from a dozen different places. His back felt like it was on fire. He forced his eyes open. The light was dim, which was good. His head was pounding. Slowly, his vision focused on the ceiling above him. White panels, medical facility. That made sense. Then he turned his head and nearly jumped out of the bed. 12 Vorathi warriors stood around his room. They were not just standing. They were at attention, wearing full ceremonial armor that gleamed like bronze in the low light. Each one held a long spear, perfectly still. Their golden eyes were all fixed on him. At the foot of his bed sat another Vorathi, this one larger than the others. His armor was more elaborate, marked with symbols that Ryan did not recognize. The warrior's face was scarred, and his eyes held an intelligence that made Ryan nervous. "You are awake," the Vorathi said in perfect English. His voice was deep and rumbling. "I am Commander Carrix of the Imperial Guard. We have been waiting for you." Ryan's mouth was dry. He tried to speak, coughed, and tried again. "Why are you in my room?" "We are your honor guard," Carrix said simply. "You saved the life of Sarah, daughter of Warlord Thane. You took 8 blades meant for her. This creates a debt that cannot be repaid with mere words or credits." Ryan shook his head, which made the pounding worse. "I just did what anyone would do. The kid was in danger." The effect of his words was immediate. All 12 warriors shifted slightly, a ripple of movement through the room. Carrix leaned forward, his eyes intense. "No," the commander said. "Not anyone would do this. You are human. She is Vorathi. You had no clan obligation, no blood ties, no contract of service. Yet you placed your body between her and death. You took 8 wounds, each one potentially fatal. Do you understand what this means to us?" "Not really," Ryan admitted. His head was clearing now, though the pain was getting worse as the medication wore off. "Look, I appreciate the visit, but I need to talk to a doctor about painkillers." "You have had the finest Vorathi medical care available," Carrix said. "Your wounds were severe. By human standards, you should have died. Our technology has accelerated your healing, but you will carry the scars." The door to the room opened. A human woman walked in, looking both professional and slightly overwhelmed. She was in her 30s with dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. She wore the uniform of the diplomatic corps. "Ryan Carter?" she asked. "I'm Kate Morrison, human liaison for New Haven Colony. I need to brief you on the situation." "What situation?" Ryan asked, though he was starting to get a bad feeling about all of this. Kate glanced at the Vorathi warriors, then back at Ryan. The child you saved is not just any Varathi. Sarah is the only daughter of Warlord Thane, the supreme leader of the Varathi Empire. He controls 3 star systems and commands the largest military fleet in this sector. Ryan closed his eyes. Of course she is. The Varathi have a cultural tradition called the life debt, Kate continued. It's not just symbolic. When someone saves a Varathi life, especially a child's life, it creates a bond that's considered sacred. But what you did goes beyond even that. You took wounds for her. You were willing to die for a child you didn't know, from a species you barely understood. I was just trying to help, Ryan said weakly. The Varathi don't think like that, Kate explained. They're warriors. They value strength and honor above all else. They're taught from childhood to fight and die for their clan. But protecting someone outside your clan, someone weaker than yourself, purely out of compassion, that concept is almost alien to them. Carrick spoke up. She speaks truth. We Varathi are strong, we conquer, we expand, but we do not shield. Not like this. Your action has caused much discussion among our people. Some call it weakness. Others call it the highest form of strength. The door opened again, and this time 2 more Varathi entered. One was a female, tall and elegant, wearing robes that marked her as nobility. The other was a small child who Ryan recognized immediately. Those golden eyes were unmistakable. Sarah, Ryan said softly. The child pulled away from the female Varathi and ran to Ryan's bedside. She grabbed his hand with both of hers, chirping rapidly in her language. Her eyes were bright and happy. She has been asking for you every day, the female Varathi said in accented English. I am Lady Vessa, mother of Sarah. You saved my daughter's life. There are no words in any language sufficient to express my gratitude. Is she okay? Ryan asked, looking at the child. She is unharmed thanks to you, Vessa said, but she has nightmares. She cries for the soft skin shield. That is what she calls you. Sarah was still holding Ryan's hand, chattering away. She seemed to be showing him her ceremonial necklace, pointing at the symbols. She is trying to tell you about her naming ceremony, Vessa translated. She was returning from the ritual when the Krell attacked. They were specifically hunting her to strike at my husband. You interfered with an assassination that would have shattered our family. Ryan watched the little girl, who was now trying to climb onto the bed. Vessa started to stop her, but Ryan shook his head. It's okay. She's not hurting anything. Sarah settled next to him carefully, avoiding his wounds. She kept holding his hand. Warlord Thane wishes to speak with you, Carrick said. He offers you a position as Sarah's personal guardian and honorary membership in the warrior caste. This is an honor never before given to a human. I'm not a diplomat, Ryan said. I'm just a security contractor. I don't know anything about raising alien kids or warrior castes. You know what matters most, Vessa said quietly. You know how to protect those who cannot protect themselves. This is all we ask. Ryan looked down at Sarah, who had fallen asleep holding his hand. Her face was peaceful now, without the terror he had seen in the marketplace. He thought about sending her away, about going back to his boring job checking cargo manifests. But he could still feel the weight of her small body behind him as the blades had cut into his back. He remembered her frightened eyes. She was just a kid who had almost died because of politics and violence she did not understand. I need time to think about this, Ryan said finally. Of course, Carrick said, standing. Take the time you need to heal. We will remain here to ensure your safety. The Krell may attempt to finish what they started. Great, Ryan thought. He had gone from a quiet life to being at the center of an interstellar incident, all because he could not walk away from a scared child. As Vessa carefully lifted the sleeping Sarah, Ryan caught Carrick's watching him with something that might have been respect. You are an interesting human, Ryan Carter, the commander said. Perhaps there is much the Varathi can learn from your people after all. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of pain, healing, and constant Varathi presence. Ryan learned that having 12 elite warriors guarding your hospital room made normal life impossible. Nurses were nervous. Other patients stared. His friend Danny Brooks found the whole situation hilarious. "You're basically an alien princess's bodyguard now," Danny said, sitting in the chair next to Ryan's bed. He was eating Ryan's pudding without permission. "How does that feel?" "I haven't accepted anything yet," Ryan said, though they both knew it was a weak protest. He had been thinking about little else. "Man, those Varathi don't mess around," Danny said, gesturing at the guards. "I tried to bring you beer and they actually scanned it for poison." "Beer!" Ryan had to smile at that. Commander Carricks took security seriously. The commander visited every day, always at exactly the same time. At first, Ryan thought it was just to check on his condition, but he soon realized Carricks was curious about humans in general. "Tell me about your military service," Carricks said during one visit. He sat in his usual spot at the foot of the bed, his large frame making the chair look small. "Not much to tell," Ryan said. "I joined when I was 18, served 8 years, did some peacekeeping missions on colony worlds, got out and went into private security." "Why did you leave the military?" Ryan was quiet for a moment. "I saw enough fighting, wanted something quieter." "Yet you ran toward danger in the marketplace," Carricks observed. "This is contradictory behavior." "Maybe," Ryan said. "But that was different. That was a kid." Carricks leaned forward. "Explain this to me. In Varathi culture, we fight for our clan, our honor, our territory. These are logical reasons. But you risked death for a child not of your blood, not of your species, not of your clan. Why?" Ryan struggled to put it into words. "It's just what you do. When someone needs help, especially a kid, you help. It's not about logic. It's about being human." "Being human," Carricks repeated slowly, as if testing the words. "Among the Varathi, we are taught that emotion is weakness. Strength is everything. Yet your emotion, your compassion, led you to an act of incredible strength. This troubles me." "Why does it trouble you?" "Because it suggests we may have been wrong about many things," Carricks said quietly. "You have made me question truths I have held since birth." Their conversations continued each day. Ryan told Carricks about human culture, about concepts like kindness and empathy. Carricks shared stories of Varathi history, of their rise from a harsh world where only the strong survived. They were 2 warriors from different worlds, trying to understand each other. Sarah visited often, too. She would sit on Ryan's bed, chattering in her language while he healed. Lady Vessa always came with her, translating the important parts. "She wants to know if your wounds hurt," Vessa said one day. "A little," Ryan admitted. "But they're getting better." Sarah touched one of the bandages gently, her golden eyes sad. She said something in rapid Varathi. "She says she is sorry you were hurt because of her," Vessa translated. "She has bad dreams about the market." Ryan felt his chest tighten. "Tell her it's not her fault. Tell her I'm glad I was there to help." When Vessa translated, Sarah's face brightened. She hugged Ryan carefully, avoiding his wounds. The little girl had bonded to him in a way that reminded Ryan of how children attach to parents. It scared him a little. He knew nothing about raising kids, especially alien ones. But when she looked at him with those trusting eyes, something in him shifted. Maybe he could learn. Kate Morrison visited regularly, too, bringing updates on the political situation. The news had spread throughout human space and beyond. Ryan's actions were being discussed in the Galactic Council chambers. "Some species are saying this proves humans are too emotional for full council membership," Kate explained. "They think we're unpredictable. that we let feelings override logic. And what do others say? Ryan asked. That compassion is a strength, not a weakness. The Varathi are backing us hard. Warlord Thane gave a speech about the value of protecting the innocent. Coming from him, that's huge. He's not exactly known for being soft. So I'm caught in the middle of galactic politics, Ryan said. Great. You could be a symbol, Kate said carefully. A bridge between species. If you accept Thane's offer, you'd be the first human in the Varathi warrior caste. That means something? Ryan looked out the window of his room. New Haven colony stretched out below, a mix of human and alien architecture. He had come here looking for a quiet life after too many years of combat. Instead, he had found himself at the center of something much bigger. That evening, Commander Carrick's brought unexpected news. Warlord Thane will arrive tomorrow. He wishes to speak with you directly. Ryan's stomach tightened. What should I say to him? The truth, Carrick said simply. He values honesty above all else. Do not try to be something you are not. The next day, Ryan met the leader of the Varathi Empire. Warlord Thane was massive, even for a Varathi. His scales were dark bronze, marked with countless scars. His eyes held the weight of command, of thousands of decisions that meant life or death for his people. When he entered the room, even the honor guard stood straighter. But when Thane approached Ryan's bed, his expression softened. You saved my daughter, he said in a voice like rolling thunder. You took 8 blades for her. In my culture, 8 is a sacred number. The number of creation, the number of eternity. This cannot be coincidence. I didn't know that, Ryan said honestly. I just tried to keep her safe. I know, Thane said, and something like wonder crossed his face. That is what makes it remarkable. You acted without thought of honor or reward or cultural significance. You simply chose to shield a child. I have commanded armies for 30 years. I have conquered worlds. I have done terrible things in the name of my people, but I have never witnessed such pure act of sacrifice. What I did wasn't that special, Ryan protested. To humans, perhaps not, Thane said. But to us, it has shaken the foundations of our society. Young warriors are asking questions about honor and duty. They want to know if true strength includes compassion. You have planted a seed that will grow into something we cannot yet imagine. I don't want to change your culture, Ryan said. I just want Sarah to be okay. Thane studied him for a long moment. Will you accept my offer? Will you become her guardian and join our warrior caste? Ryan thought about his quiet life, his comfortable apartment, his boring job. Then he thought about a little girl with golden eyes who called him her soft skin shield. Yes, Ryan said. I'll do it. The Varathi Imperial flagship made human military vessels look like children's toys. The ship was called Dorath's Fury, and it was 3 miles of armored steel and weapons designed for one purpose: war. Ryan stood in the observation deck, watching New Haven colony shrink behind them as they traveled toward the Varathi homeworld. Commander Carricks stood beside him. Over the past weeks, the Varathi warrior had become something like a friend, though neither of them would have used that word. Nervous? Carricks asked. A little, Ryan admitted. I've never been to an alien homeworld before. You will adapt, Carricks said. You are good at adapting. It is a human trait I have come to respect. The journey took 3 days. During that time, the Varathi guards began teaching Ryan their fighting techniques. They started slowly, aware of his still healing wounds. But Ryan surprised them by picking up the movements quickly. His human flexibility allowed him to perform techniques the Varathi found difficult with their bulkier frames. You move like water, one guard named Vex told him. We Varathi are stone and steel, but water flows around stone. This is interesting. Ryan also spent time with Sarah. The child followed him everywhere, practicing her English and teaching him Varathi words. She seemed happier now, though she still had nightmares. When she did, she would find Ryan, and he would sit with her until she fell back asleep. Lady Vessa watched these interactions with approval. "You are good with her," she told Ryan. "Better than many trained nursemaids. You have a natural gift for understanding what she needs." "I just treat her like a kid," Ryan said. "Scared kids need to feel safe. That's universal, I think." The Varathi homeworld appeared in the view screen like a red jewel. The planet was smaller than Earth, with less water and more volcanic activity. The capital city was built into a mountain range, all sharp angles and defensive positions. Everything about it screamed military strength. When they landed, thousands of Varathi had gathered. The ceremony was being broadcast across the empire. Ryan felt his stomach twist with nerves as he walked down the ship's ramp with Sarah holding his hand. The blade ceremony was held in an ancient arena carved from black stone. The seats were filled with Varathi warriors, their armor catching the red sunlight. Ryan stood in the center of the arena floor, feeling very small and very human. Sarah stood beside him, wearing her ceremonial robes. Warlord Thane rose from his seat of honor. His voice carried across the arena without any electronic help. "We gather to honor Ryan Carter, human of Earth Colony New Haven. He placed himself between my daughter and death. He took 8 blades, the sacred number, so that she might live. I ask him now, why did you do this?" The arena fell silent. Thousands of golden eyes focused on Ryan. He took a breath and spoke the truth. "I saw a child in danger. I couldn't walk away. It's not about being brave or seeking honor. It's about doing what's right. In human culture, we have a saying, the true measure of a person is what they do when no one is watching. I didn't act for reward or recognition. I acted because that little girl needed help." The silence stretched. Ryan wondered if he had said something wrong. Then Warlord Thane began a rhythmic stomping that Ryan recognized as the Varathi battle cry. Within seconds, thousands of warriors joined in. The sound shook the arena floor. The Varathi were honoring him in their most sacred way. After the ceremony, Ryan was given ceremonial armor designed for his human frame. It was lighter than Varathi armor, but just as strong. He also received an energy blade, its handle carved with symbols that represented protection and sacrifice. The celebration that followed was intense. Varathi ceremonies involved combat demonstrations, feasting, and ritual challenges. Ryan found himself surrounded by young warriors asking questions about human culture and compassion. "Is it true all humans act this way?" one asked. "Not all," Ryan said honestly. "But many try to. We believe that protecting those weaker than ourselves is part of what makes us civilized." "This is a strange concept," another warrior said, "but perhaps a valuable one." Late in the evening, Ryan stepped out onto a balcony for some air. The Varathi capital spread out below him, lit by thousands of lights. Carix joined him after a few minutes. "You have done something remarkable today," the commander said. "Not just saving Sarah. You have given my people new ideas to consider. Change is coming to the Varathi Empire, whether we are ready or not." "I didn't mean to cause trouble," Ryan said. "The best changes often start with trouble," Carix replied. A movement caught Ryan's eye. Years of security training kicked in. He saw a figure on a nearby rooftop, something glinting in their hands. "Get down!" Ryan shouted, tackling Carix as an energy bolt seared through the space where the commander's head had been. Alarms blared. More guards poured onto the balcony. The assassin tried to escape but was caught within minutes. When they brought the would-be killer before Warlord Thane, Ryan saw it was a Varathi warrior, older and scarred. "Why?" Thane demanded. "Because you make us weak," the assassin spat. "First you honor a human, then you speak of compassion and protecting the helpless. These are not Varathi ways. These are the poison of soft species." I am part of the old claws, and we will not let our empire fall to weakness." Carrick stepped forward, his face dark with anger. "The old claws? I thought that faction had died out decades ago." "We have waited," the assassin said. "Watched as you grew soft. But we are still strong. We are still true Vorathi. And we will prove that this human's weakness will destroy you all." Guards dragged the assassin away. Warlord Thane turned to Ryan, his expression grave. "The old claws are traditionalists who reject any change to our warrior culture. If they are active again, this is a serious threat. They have access to military resources and trained fighters. They will not stop with one failed assassination." "What will they do?" Ryan asked. "They will try to prove that compassion is weakness," Carrick said. "They will create a situation where acting with mercy leads to death, and they will hope that when you fail, it discredits everything you represent." Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. He had come here to protect one child. Now he was caught in a war over the soul of an entire civilization. "We need intelligence on their plans," Thane said. "Carricks, assemble your best warriors. Ryan, I would have you join them. You see things others miss. It is why you spotted the assassin when my own guards did not." "Where do we start?" Ryan asked. "We start by assuming the worst," Carrick said grimly. "The old claws will strike at innocence to prove their point. They will choose a target that forces you to act, and they will make sure the cost is high." That night, lying in his quarters, Ryan stared at the ceiling. He thought about his quiet life on New Haven, checking cargo manifests and avoiding excitement. That life seemed very far away now. He had become something he never intended, a symbol, a guardian, and now a target in a conflict that could reshape an entire species. Sarah's face came to his mind, those trusting golden eyes. Whatever came next, he would face it, because that was what humans did. They protected those who needed protection, no matter the cost. The intelligence came 3 days later. The old claws were planning an attack on New Haven Colony. The target was the civilian shelter system that protected colonists during emergencies. If they destroyed it during a coordinated assault, thousands would die. "They want to prove that your compassion leads to weakness," Carrick explained as they studied tactical displays. "They will force you to choose between security and mercy. If you prioritize defense, civilians die. If you prioritize evacuation, your forces are spread thin and vulnerable." "So we do both," Ryan said. He pointed at the display showing New Haven's layout. "I worked security there for 2 years. I know every back passage and maintenance tunnel. We use a small team to reach the shelter controls before the main attack. We secure the civilians while the main fleet handles the military threat." Warlord Thane studied the plan. "It is risky. A small team will be isolated and outnumbered. Small teams are harder to detect," Ryan countered. "And I know the territory. This is our best shot." Carrick nodded slowly. "I volunteered to lead the Vorathi warriors on this team." "I'm going too," said Danny Brooks. Ryan had called his old friend as soon as he learned about the threat. Danny had brought 2 other human Special Forces soldiers with him. The team assembled quickly. 6 Vorathi warriors, including Carrick's, 3 human soldiers, including Danny, and Ryan. 10 against an unknown number of enemies, racing to save thousands of lives. They arrived at New Haven ahead of the attack, infiltrating through cargo routes Ryan knew well. The colony seemed peaceful, unaware of the danger approaching. Ryan felt a knot of tension in his stomach. These were his people, his home. He would not let them die. The first sign of trouble came from the commercial sector. Explosions ripped through the market district where Ryan had first met Sarah. The civilian alert system activated, directing people to the emergency shelters. This was exactly what the old claws wanted. "They are driving the civilians into a trap," Carrick said grimly. "The shelters themselves are the target." Ryan's team moved fast through maintenance tunnels. They emerged near the central shelter complex just as Krell mercenaries were placing explosive charges on the main support columns. Behind them stood Vorathi warriors in dark armor, marked with the symbols of the old claws. "There are too many," one of Danny's soldiers whispered. "Then we make them focus on us," Ryan said. He stepped out into the open. "Hey! Wrong shelter!" Every enemy turned toward him. Energy weapons charged. Ryan dove behind cover as bolts seared the air where he had been standing. His team attacked from multiple angles, using the element of surprise. The fight was brutal. The Krell were vicious close combat fighters. The rogue Vorathi warriors were just as skilled as Carrick's team. But Ryan's knowledge of the area gave them an edge. He led enemies into choke points, used environmental hazards, and coordinated his mixed human and Vorathi team with the precision of his old military days. Danny fought beside Ryan like they were back in the service. The human soldier took down 3 Krell warriors with precise shooting, but when one of the rogue Vorathi charged Carrick's from behind, Danny threw himself into the path of the energy blade. The weapon went through Danny's chest. He fell hard, blood spreading across the floor. "No!" Ryan reached his friend's side. Danny's breathing was shallow, his eyes already losing focus. "Get the civilians out," Danny gasped. "That's what we do, right? Protect people." "Danny, stay with me," Ryan pleaded. But his friend's eyes closed. The light went out of them. Ryan felt something break inside his chest, a howl of grief and rage that he had to push down. There was no time. The charges were still active. The civilians were still in danger. He forced himself to move. While Carrick's warriors held the line, Ryan reached the shelter controls. The system was sophisticated, but he had helped install it. His fingers flew over the interface, rerouting power and initiating emergency evacuations. "Ryan Carter!" The voice was harsh and mocking. Ryan turned to see a massive Vorathi warrior in Old Claw's armor. His scales were pale gray, his eyes cold. "I am Drath, true champion of the Vorathi way. You have poisoned my people with your human weakness." "Weakness?" Ryan stood, his combat knife in hand. His body ached, his heart was broken, but his voice was steady. "My friend just died protecting people he never met. People of a different species. He did it because it was right. Because protecting innocence is what gives us strength, not what makes us weak." "Lies," Drath snarled. "Strength is conquest. Strength is domination. You teach mercy and compassion, and you doom us to slavery by softer species." "You're wrong," Ryan said. "The strongest person is the one who protects those who can't protect themselves. That takes real courage. Anyone can hurt the weak." "It takes strength to shield them," Drath charged. Ryan dodged, his smaller human frame allowing quick movements. The larger warrior's blade cut through the air where Ryan had been. They fought in the shadow of the shelter, life and death balanced on the edge of their blades. Ryan was outmatched in size and strength. But he fought with everything he had learned, everything he believed. He fought for Danny, for Sarah, for every person sheltering below their feet, trusting others to keep them safe. Carrick's and his warriors finished the last of the enemies and joined the fight. Together, they brought Drath down. The rogue warrior fell, his eyes filled with hate even in defeat. Ryan rushed back to the controls. One explosive was on a dead switch, set to detonate if disturbed. Someone had to stay and manually disarm it while everyone else evacuated. "I'll do it," Ryan said. "You cannot," Carrick's protested. "You have done enough." "It needs human hands for the fine motor work," Ryan said, which was partly true. "Get everyone out. I'll disarm it and follow." Carrick's looked at him for a long moment. Then the commander touched his fist to his chest in the Vorathi salute. "You honor us all, Ryan Carter." The team evacuated. Ryan worked on the explosive, his hands steady despite the sweat on his face. He could hear fighting in the distance as Warlord Thane's fleet engaged the Old Claw's forces in orbit. The colony shook with the impact of weapons fire. The final wire clicked into place, the explosive deactivated. Ryan let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. He ran for the exit as the ceiling began to collapse from the orbital battle above. He almost made it. Debris caught him across the back, adding new injuries to his old scars. He felt ribs crack, but he kept moving, kept crawling toward the light of the exit. Hands grabbed him, pulled him to safety. Varathi warriors, human soldiers, all working together. Ryan woke in a medical bay 3 days later. The battle was over. The Old Claws had been defeated, their leadership captured or killed. The civilian shelters had held. Thousands of lives had been saved. But Danny Brooks was dead, and Ryan had new scars to match his old ones. Warlord Thane visited him. "Your friend died with honor. He will be remembered in Varathi history as a warrior of the highest caliber." "He was a good man," Ryan said quietly. He understood what mattered. "As do you," Thane said. "The Old Claws are broken, but they were right about one thing. You have changed us. Young Varathi warriors are asking new questions. They want to know if strength includes mercy, if honor includes compassion. You have planted seeds that will grow for generations." 3 months later, Ryan stood in a Varathi training facility watching young warriors practice. But these exercises were different from traditional training. They included scenarios about protecting civilians, about making choices between personal glory and the greater good. Sarah practiced with them, older now and fierce. She wanted to be like her soft-skin shield, she said, strong enough to protect others. Kate Morrison visited with news from the Galactic Council. Humanity has been granted full membership, sponsored by the Varathi Empire. Over a dozen species have requested cultural exchanges to learn about human concepts of compassion and empathy. "All because I couldn't walk away from a scared kid," Ryan said. "No," Kate corrected, "because you proved that compassion isn't weakness, it's strength, and that's a lesson the whole galaxy needed to learn." Ryan touched the scars on his back, the marks of 8 blades taken for a child. They were honored now in Varathi tradition as symbols of the highest virtue. Not scars of victory, but scars of sacrifice. Commander Carrick's approached, his bearing formal. "The Warlord has approved my request. I will be leading a new training program that combines traditional Varathi combat with human concepts of protective service. I would be honored if you would help design the curriculum." "I'm not a teacher," Ryan protested. "You are exactly what we need," Carrick said. "Someone who understands that true warriors protect the weak, not prey upon them." Ryan looked at the young warriors training, at Sarah who practiced with fierce determination, at the banners that now bore symbols of both conquest and protection. Danny had been right. This was what they did. This was what humans did. They protected people no matter the cost, and sometimes that protection changed the universe.